Hi guys, welcome to the PlayStation Access Podcast, the official podcast of PlayStation UK. You're listening to episode 5 of season 1, the penultimate episode of this season, where we're talking about boss battles, Gollum's birthday song, and bad wedding advice. Now there's a combination for all occasions. Over this season, you're getting an introduction and deeper look at all things Access. So settle in for some cozy conversation from our world of PlayStation. For now though, get your health potions ready, as we're about to begin. Hello everybody, welcome to the PlayStation Access Podcast, hosted by me, Vicar Ashmelia, that's from Bloodborne, and also joined by Dave, the boss, in air quotes, Jackson.
I got that reference. Hello everybody.
Yes, also the Rosidents.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, that's like the...
Rosie has no idea what that is. Well played, Rosie. I don't think anyone suspected a thing.
Brush it away.
That's like the Radiance from Hollow Knight.
Oh, I haven't got that far yet.
Yes,
That
and also
explains
One Hit Rob.
Oh. Hello.
Oh,
I like it.
Someone's got to take
What's
the
that
Duff
from?
name. That's just life. Someone's got to take the Duff name, Rob.
Oh.
Someone's got to have it.
Oh.
It's not that
So
bad.
just a boss that gets killed in one hit.
Yeah.
I guess I have been killed in one hit by
Yeah.
that savage burn.
Yeah, nice.
There we
yeah,
go.
Well played.
Slayed. Right. So this episode is all about boss battles, if those fun little names didn't give the game away. We're going to be talking about boss encounters in our main feature, but we also have comments of the week for community highlights from the hashtag Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
Come on, Rosie.
As well as the Before We Go section for some coverage outside of gaming. But first, here is the classic question, guys. What's new? So, guys, we're in the What's New section, and I'm going to tell you what is new with PlayStation. We have got the new PlayStation Plus lineup, or at least some of it, announced on the blog, which you can check out now. So please go there to look at all of the games which are going to come to Europe on the 23rd of June. It launches in other territories a little bit earlier, but Europe is the 23rd. So again, check out the blog for your date if you're not in Europe. This is when Essential, Extra, and Premium tiers are going to come to PlayStation. And I thought it'd be fun for us to talk about some games that are in the premium tier, because all of the games will be in the premium tier.
Because why not?
Woo! So there's loads coming. There's a big list. If you take a look at the blog post, there's so much to be excited for. So we're going to talk about a few games that are coming to the service that we like or we're excited to play. And guys, take it away. I want to hear some games that you're going to get on when PlayStation Plus New comes.
I was extremely excited because there are a whole bunch of games that I've sadly missed that I've really wanted to play. Two that immediately spring to mind, funnily enough, are Dead Cells and Celeste.
Yeah.
Which I think will be right up my street. I love the art style, and both of them I like the gameplay's just mwah. And as we discussed recently, gameplay's my thing.
Yeah, Celeste is so hard.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
god,
Have
is
you
it
guys
too
played
hard?
Celeste?
Yeah.
I really want to.
I gave up.
Really?
Yeah, I also gave up.
Oh my God, is it that hard?
I
Yeah.
loved it. Well, no, not really, Dave. You know, I give up on everything.
Yeah. I was more talking about Ash. I was like, oh yeah, Rob, okay, whatever you say. Ash has given up. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But I got really caught up in trying to get all the collectibles, because you collect strawberries as you go up, and also
Were you trying to get the platinum
No.
well?
This is one of the games on PlayStation that I kind of picked up before I got into the trophy mindset.
Right.
But I was
Are you
really,
saying before you joined Access? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So I was really excited to play it fully and get all of the challenges done and kind of just experience all of it, just because I wanted to do the challenge. And I think that's what hindered me. I didn't focus on climbing the mountain. I focused on getting all the collectibles, and the collectibles are hard. They're supposed to be a challenge. Like, you're supposed to do the mountain and then go back and clean everything up. So that's why I ended up stopping playing it or giving up on it. I would absolutely go back though, because I think now that I've had a bit more time with other titles that are similar, I would definitely return and play it again. It's so beautiful, and the messaging in it is really nice, and the music and the settings, it's great. And it's also got tons of accessibility features to make it as, you know, accessible as you need as well. So it's great.
I think I'm right in saying that it was made by the people who made Towerfall Ascension, which was like a massive channel favourite, and Nathan and I in particular used to play that a lot in lunch breaks and stuff. It's just so much fun, and it's certainly a similar kind of art style and platform style of gameplay. So I don't know, that game's so good that it just made me think Celeste is going to be amazing, let alone what everyone has said.
Yeah.
Another game I'm really excited for on the list is Puppeteer, which is a game from PS3 that came out, I think, very soon after I started working on Access. And I remember
doing Game of the Week on it.
Yeah, and I think either you or Nath played it, and I just thought it looked fantastic, like such a cool, interesting idea, slightly a little bit kind of tear away, this kind of paper puppet world. Maybe not paper, but in my head it's kind of that sort of 2D puppeteering. And I remember we had an interview with one of the developers on the channel, and just the way he spoke about it, it's Japan Studio and they're just amazing. And it just feels like one of those games I should have played, and you know, it's passed me by. But now it's back. I can play it very easily on my PS5, and I really, really am looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Can confirm Puppeteer is fantastic.
Really?
I played it over the Christmas just gone, and it was just ideal for that time of year.
Yeah.
You know, like Christmas, you have pantomimes and some theatre productions. This was my little Christmas show, and it was so fantastic to play it. Really fun platforming, really fun characters, really fun little story, and it's such a polished game. It's so good. So you'll love
Sounds
it.
good. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Rosie, this is the only one that we had like a double up of with you two. So, like, 'cause there's so many games coming to the service that we're all excited for. This was the one that both Dave and Rosie picked, and were like, Puppeteer, which I think is really cool. Rob, how about you? What are you excited for?
I really am excited to play Dark Cloud 2, otherwise known as Dark Chronicle in the UK, and Rogue Galaxy, which you could almost call a trilogy of JRPGs from Level 5, the developer who went on to make Ni no Kuni and Dragon Quest VIII.
Ooh.
Wow.
Brilliant games that I played on PS2. Rogue Galaxy, I think was the very last game I ever played on PS2 before my PS3 arrived. But I've not played them for years. Absolutely years. Dark Chronicle in particular was one of my favourite PS2 games of all time. Such a great, charming, wholesome game full of fish mini games.
Ah,
You
yes.
can go fishing, you can raise your fish, and then you can race your fish. It's so good, honestly.
All the R's.
Yeah, and you get your camera and you can take photos of things.
Fish.
Take photos of fish. And when you take photos of things, if it's a specific thing, because you play as a little inventor called Max, and if it's a thing that sparks an idea, that photo becomes an ingredient in an invention, and you can build new weapons and you can build new aquariums for your fish.
Rob's shoulders are like right up my ears. He's like so excited.
It's a great game. Rogue Galaxy as well, not directly related, but made by the same team. Another beautiful cel-shaded JRPG that I can't remember too much about, other than I absolutely loved it. And when I saw it listed, I was like, "Oh, Rogue Galaxy! I'd forgotten all about that." It's like you play as I think it's like a space pirate type thing. It's cool, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think we'll have lots of stuff on the channel with us all being like, look, we're playing a game we really like again. Rosie, how about you? I know that this has been like a really exciting announcement for you because of the retro games.
Do the impression, Rob.
Oh, retro games!
Woo! So I'd love to hear what you're most excited for.
Yes. So, I mean, when you told us that this question was popping up, this was like the only question you asked us to have a think about our entries to make sure we didn't cross over anything. But mine are pretty much all from the retro, the classic selection. But mainly for me, gotta say it, Ape Escape!
Yes.
Ape Escape! I'm so happy Ape Escape is going to be in the collection. I'm just so happy. And I've seen so many people on social media also being like, Ape Escape! Everyone loves Ape Escape.
Can I shock you? I don't even know what Ape Escape is.
Well, this is it. I feel that, like, you know, I'm always ranting about Ape Escape. Then I get home and then I see everyone else ranting about Ape Escape. And I come in the office, no one talks about Ape Escape.
I know it's PlayStation royalty, but it just completely passed me by.
Well, that's why one reason why I'm so excited is because I just love Ape Escape and I can't wait to replay it and just have an absolute blast with it. But also because then for those who haven't played it, it's so easily accessible now. You know, boot it up and have a fantastic time. The music in it is phenomenal. I'm actually going to see the composer at a gig on Wednesday, which I'm super excited about. Yeah, I know. It's sick. I can't wait.
Are they playing Ape Escape music or just like their band?
No, well, so it's just, he's just playing because he also does his own music on the side. So I have no idea what's going to be there.
Are you going to make an Ape Escape sign?
Well,
Oh, please,
Yeah,
Rosie.
please hold up a big sign that says play Ape Escape.
we are planning on taking our copies of Ape Escape and just, if we're able to, be like, we love your work in Ape Escape, please can you sign our copies?
Oh my god, that's so cool.
So we're super excited for that. So yeah, the music's brilliant. The gameplay is so much fun and phenomenal. It's, you know, back when it came out on PS1, it was one of those revolutionary titles, which is like, oh, you have to use both the analog sticks, like really hammering. Imagine. Yeah, well, yeah, like, you know,
yeah, for sure.
as a kid, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
You didn't use the analog stick wasn't to turn the camera; it was your action,
Yeah.
and it was, and you know, the but like X used to be jump, now it's a weapon select and stuff. It was so good. It's just so good, and I can't wait for Ape Escape.
Put that on the box. X used to be jump. Now it's a weapon select. I got to get this game. I got to play this game right now.
I gotta get it. And so
I do genuinely just love hearing you effuse about Ape Escape. Like I put this question in because I want to hear Rosie talk about Ape Escape. So I know you're so excited for it.
I'm trying to condense it 'cause I know I can ramble sometimes. So I was just like,
I'm giving you a lot of credence on this, Rosie. Usually, I know you love retro games. I'm less excited about retro games, but recently Rosie's been playing a lot of Dig Dug in the office,
Yes.
and Ash and I have caught the Dig Dug bug from Rosie. It's like
That was good.
I was like, "What's that?"
well,
How's it- okay.
Ash told me this morning she's got some more trophies.
yeah.
Really?
We're prepping, aren't we?
We're prepping, yeah.
We are
Well, we need to
prepping.
agree.
Yeah.
But we've got a little Dig Dug plan. But anyway, Rosie has been effervescing about Dig Dug, and I was like, "Look at it, Rosie. Look at it. It looks like it offends me." And I played it, and I was like, "This game is so good."
It's so good. I think it looks great as well. Like the colours on it, the way that Dig Dug.
It's no Returnal, but
Well, I mean,
It's the same sort of vibe. You
It
go
is a
and you
similar
dig
vibe,
and you
it's
battle
true.
through.
you battle through. They're coming after you.
yeah,
and stuff.
existential crisis. Yeah, it's true. How
It
about you,
absolutely
Ash?
is.
What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to everybody playing Hollow Knight.
Oh my
Because it's
God.
on there. I'm so excited. Hollow Knight's on there.
What if one of us gets the platinum on Hollow Knight before you do?
You know what? I will literally just be so impressed. I will be so impressed, and I will bow down and say, "You are the master of games, and
Wow.
can you teach me how to do it?"
That's
that
how
is
confident
tempting.
Ash is.
That is
that
tempting.
none
That
of
is a
us are gonna
tempting
get
offer.
it.
Jenny, that's not even confidence. That is, it's so hard. It's so hard. I've been trying for so long. I've given it a few months break, so I'll go back to it at some point. But like, I love Hollow Knight, and I'd love for someone to get the platinum on it. Rosie's looking at me now, and I'm like, oh god, I'm talking. You know, I'm just like, oh, Rosie could do it though.
Feel the gaze.
Wait a
but
minute. I could do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dave could
you
do
guys,
it.
all of you could do it, but it just,
I couldn't.
it's
do
a
it.
long time.
I don't have patience for these kinds of. If things, I just like nah.
The last like section to get the trophy on the Pantheon. There we go. The name just left my head then. The Pantheon. The final Pantheon is a 45-minute boss rush of every boss in the game. So it's
Oh my
like,
God.
every boss is a difficult challenge in itself. So to string them all together and it be every single one in the game and it be nearly an hour long. If you mess up
no.
near the end,
That is such a big commitment. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just spend an hour trying to do this final fight.
yeah, it's mad.
Is that the last trophy you need?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the last one I need, because then I'll have 112%, I think, of the game completed, which is the percent that it takes to complete.
percentages work.
But yeah, there's also Control Ultimate Edition and Until Dawn on there, which are two of my faves, which I'm just glad that people will be able to see and play and enjoy, and big recommended from me. And I'm excited to play, which I haven't played before, which may come as a small surprise, but Fear, F-E-A-R.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I never actually played that, so I'm really excited to get my hands on that and get like into a horror classic.
That's another game I always wanted to play, but knew I could never play.
I remember watching my brother play it on PS3, like bits and bobs, and it from what I remember, it was really good.
Yeah, I've seen bits of it and obviously know about it and its cultural effect and kind of the game itself, but I just want to play it myself now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be able to do that. But yeah, those are some games coming to the new PlayStation Plus on the 23rd of June.
Nice.
We're all very excited. There's loads more coming. There's more updates on the blog, so please check out there. As for now, there's more What's New, though, because the Days of Play sale is on until the 8th of June. So if you want to pick up a bargain, you can head there. And also, the Lord of the Rings Gollum is releasing on PS4 and PS5 on the 1st of September 2022.
God. What was it Alex said? We've got a work chat, and Alex showed us that the launch date had been revealed, and he said something like, "That's going to be a tiresome time." And I agree, Alex. I really could not be less excited for a game that I think I'd really enjoy.
We're very excited, Precious.
Oh, God.
Oh, Gollum, you're here!
An entire live stream.
It's not anyone's birthday, is it? Is it anyone's birthday?
It's Nathan's birthday
Oh, my
today.
God. Actually, it's Nathan's birthday.
God, it's Nathan's birthday.
God. Yeah, it is. What have I
So
done?
on the channel, whenever it's someone's birthday, Rob does the Gollum Happy Birthday, which sounds like Marilyn Monroe singing Mr. President. So here it is for Nathan. Here we go.
Happy birthday to you.
Don't close your eyes, Rob.
Birthday to you.
Remember, it's to Nathan, okay?
Happy birthday, dear Nathan. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Precious.
Can I say the whole time Rob's arms were like reaching out?
It has to be performed.
Yeah, it was very dramatic.
Oh, Rob, welcome back.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just missed. You
I'm
would've loved
really
it.
excited for Lord of the Rings Gollum. Really excited to stream it.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah. It's developed by Daedalic. It's based on the Lord of the Rings books rather than the movies, and it's a stealth game that focuses on Gollum's journey behind the scenes in the Fellowship of the Ring. And you've kind of got to do little debates between Schmeagol and Gollum.
Ash made like direct eye contact with me when she went.
That's my Gollum impression.
Did you know that Andy Serkis based that
Oh God,
on-
Andy Serkis! Have you met Andy Serkis, Rob?
I have. But he didn't
So
tell me.
angry.
He didn't tell me this then.
Say
this
your
is
bit
on,
again.
This is
I-
on the Lord
I
of the Rings
apologise.
appendices of the extended edition DVDs. Did you know that Andy Serkis based the Gollum thing on his cat coughing up a furball?
Oh, amazing!
That's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's really good.
My two favourite Gollum things are Gollum and also, that was a horrible one. Also, the juicy sweet.
Yeah, that is a very good
When he's
bit.
eating a fish. I love that. Love
Yeah.
that. But that's in the film, so maybe we'll get a game version
Ooh.
from the books. I do love Lord of the Rings, but like I feel like in light of Rob's just eye of Sauron in the corner shining its Lord of the Rings passion across the lands
yes.
of Mordor.
One
of the
man's
Office.
passion is another man's, I don't know, fear.
I'm definitely a casual comparatively, like.
Yeah. Do you think that Daedalic are looking for the voice actor for Gollum, or have they got that sorted?
I'm pretty sure they'll have it sorted by
Do you
now.
reckon? You
Yeah.
don't think it's too...
Serious answer.
If
there.
anyone at Daedalic's listening, though, Rob's very cheap.
I did email
You did email them. Yeah, I can imagine.
them years ago, as soon as it was announced.
It's like, if you want a Gollum.
If you need a voice actor.
Did you say, hello, Daedalic Precious? A job with you would be juicy sweet.
I did not, no.
That's why you didn't get it.
Oh, there's a
Oh,
Rosie
well,
one.
no.
You do
well
a
done,
good
Rosie.
one. You do a good one, Rosie.
Get in there, Rosie. Let's hear something.
The thing is, I've never seen Lord of the Rings, so I don't
Oh,
know.
that's true. My
Gollum.
God,
All
yeah.
I know
Are you
is
just doing an impression of Rob doing an impression of Gollum?
no, it's from they're taking the hobbits to Isengard on
Yeah.
the famous song. Like that's the
famous
only reference point I have is just that, and then pretty much just that. Yeah.
Do you think you'll never watch Lord of the Rings now? Has it become like a thing? It's like a character trait.
I'll definitely want to watch it. I'll definitely want to
Well,
watch
what's stopping
it.
you?
Well, I said I'll watch it with my friend, and then he said over the Christmas break he was going to let me borrow it, and then he went off to visit family. And
These are all terrible reasons.
And then he said, "Hey, like when it comes out, if it does a thing in the cinema, we should go see it." And then that hasn't happened, and I just like how he suggested it. So I'm like, "Oh, Liam, I'm waiting for it to come out on the cinema, like you said it would at one point." And then everyone keeps on asking me about
There's
it.
plenty of I'm not having this, Rosie. I think
When
we
is
should.
it coming out on the cinema? When are they doing a screening
They
of
always
it?
do 'em.
22 years ago.
Where how far are you? Yeah, there's lots around. Okay, well I'm angry, but we'll I'm sure just watch it at some point.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll definitely watch it at some point.
Cool.
But I get so many questions asking if I've watched it or not.
Those questions would go away if you just watched it.
You could say that Rosie watching Lord of the Rings is her own type of boss encounter. Hey?
If you really
Yes.
wanted to,
What a
Sagoo.
stretch!
Wow, it's like she's got a boss to take down, which reminds me, we have a main feature coming up on boss encounters.
Smooth.
So let's have a nice musical sting. And here we are.
That was great.
That was weird.
I loved it.
Right, main feature. Here we are for boss battles, baby. So we are here to talk about boss encounters today because I think they're an interesting part of the PlayStation Access channel and kind of a big foundation of our experiences in gaming. Whether you're a casual gamer or a hardcore gamer, you're going to have come up against a boss at some point. So the kind of overarching question I want you guys to think about here is what makes for the ultimate boss battle? What is the thing you want to see when you get into a boss arena and that sweat starts pouring, the music starts playing, that health bar starts popping? What are you like? Oh my God, I hope this happens. Oh my God, I want to see this. Oh my God, could it be this? So yeah, have that in your brain. But to start you off, what are some of your most memorable boss fights? And are they for good or bad reasons? Like, did you get your ass kicked? You can be honest. This is a safe space to talk about getting your ass kicked in boss encounters.
I only remember the good ones.
What do you mean by good ones? As in the ones
The
you
ones
you
I
win?
think the ones that I think are fun, and no, I don't always have to win a boss fight to think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously the Bloodborne bosses are all very memorable, and it's because they all have such distinct personalities. Even though you only really encounter them. The only interaction you have with the boss in Bloodborne is to hit it and to have it hit you. But for some reason, they all seem so distinct. And
You
I
get
can remember them all very
cutscenes.
clearly. You get a little cutscene, and there's a lot of lore to dig into and a lot of backstory. Often quite tragic backstories to all these horrific-looking beings. But yeah, Bloodborne bosses are great. Metal Gear Solid bosses also famously brilliant. Psycho Mantis is such a cliche now, but that was an incredible boss when I first fought it. If anyone doesn't know, Psycho Mantis is a character in Metal Gear Solid who can read your mind, and he reads your memory card. And in the cutscene at the start of the fight, if there are any other Konami games on your
You
memory
like to
card,
play Castlevania.
he'll mention it. Back in the day, this is 1999. It was just absolutely mind-blowing. And he did other things, like he would move your DualShock controller using the vibration in it, which it's amazing.
I
So
still
good.
think that's mind blowing today.
It
Both
was
of those
mind-blowing.
things,
And
to be honest.
he dodges all of your attacks because he can read your mind, and the only way to beat him is to take your DualShock out of port 1 and put it into port 2 on the PlayStation.
Oh my God, I wouldn't even think
It's-
to do that.
It's
After a
just
while, you
genius.
get like, try doing this, like when you're freaking
Doesn't
out.
someone
Like,
phone you up?
yeah, Colonel comes in,
Eventually,
Colonel got your back.
Campbell phones you and he's like, "Try this." I'm gonna say, but it was so good, and it was back in the day when you didn't really have internet guides readily available, and so because I was like the first person in my friendship group to play Metal Gear Solid, I became like the person people would ring.
The Oracle.
You don't get that now, do you? Like every so often, someone would ring me at like 7 o'clock in the evening. Rob, how on earth? What are you supposed to do? Just someone crying down the phone.
I
I
imagine
bet
it's
you
like
were
a really,
there, like, yeah.
it's like a
I
really
know.
nerdy sex education where like you're sat in a room at school and you have like a little helper who gets everyone lined up and you have 5 minutes with the Oracle. What's the problem? Which boss is it?
You're talking about
Is
the
it
TV show,
Psycho Mantis?
yeah.
The TV show. Yeah, sorry. Netflix's sex education. I just imagine you like just assuming it's Psycho Mantis every time.
Yep. But I also really love the bosses in Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. I want to give a shout out to those, especially because every boss in that game is an epic event. And each boss, I think, has their own music. There isn't just a boss theme that plays for every boss. Every boss just feels like this incredible, exciting set piece. And that's when I think bosses are at their best.
What are memorable bosses for you, Rosie?
Memorable bosses. I mean, I love all boss encounters, but I think the ones that stick out for me are ones that they try something different and new, or like a different, interesting take on something. Basically, they just do something that I haven't experienced before, be it like a huge cinematic piece, like you're saying, Rob, with Psycho Mantis, like the whole thing it does with the breaking the fourth wall and stuff. Like bosses that just do something I've never really seen before. And I know that completely depends on what games I've played and stuff like that, but one that really sticks in my mind really like fondly, even though it kicked my ass, was King Dice in Cuphead. I love this boss fight because it just, like when you're saying about the backstory as well of the boss characters as well, Rob, it fits perfectly with King Dice's character, like running this casino, like, oh, you're going to roll the dice, you got to gamble. So literally you see King Dice at the beginning and you can't actually really attack King Dice. Instead, he brings you like a dice. You have to parry the dice and that determines what sort of slot you land on, kind of like a ball game of, think of it like snakes and ladders. So depending on where you go, depending your fate. And that can either be you get an extra HP, it can be a boss encounter, or it could be something else, I think. But just the way that I thought that boss fight was brilliant for King Dice's character. I thought it was a really fun way to sort of approach a boss fight, and the variety in bosses as well, like, because obviously when you land on some spaces you get an encounter with one of like a smaller boss, but those smaller bosses are just as tough, just as challenging, but there's just enough of them that yes, you can do like 3 or 4 of them, I think, before then you kind of encounter King Dice himself. So just the way, I just thought that boss was so creative and interesting. That's why that one really sticks out to me. But I also like bosses, like ones which I just found are memorable, or like just ones which are also quite funny. Like there's one in Final Fantasy VI. Rob, you'll remember. Ultros. There you go.
Already.
I was going to say, I can't remember. I was like, I think it's Ultros. I was like, oh, God, what
The
if
recurring boss.
The recurring
so
boss.
the kind of like funny boss that
Yeah.
is stupid at the beginning. And Final Fantasy does this quite a lot. And it will just then appear regularly throughout the game.
Yeah.
And every time he crops up, you're like, oh, here he is again.
Well, like, it's been like that the entire time, and I think I've had Ultros's last encounter, but literally you're in the sky and Ultros is in the sky. He's a big octopus and he's just, I can't remember if he's falling down or if he's flying, but either way you're flying with Ultros, so you're like, what are you doing here? But he's there just because it's like, oh, you thought you got rid of me, and it's just like, Ultros, what? So just for me, I think, yeah, boss fights which try something interesting, try something new, and really work well with the boss's character. Again, like backstory. Just I don't know. Just bosses. They're great, aren't they? I don't really know what makes a great boss, but just guess ones that try something new.
You think you do know, Rosie? You've just said.
But it's just like multiple reasons. I love all boss fights, and that's why I'm finding it hard to narrow it down.
Say, I don't love all boss fights. In fact, I dislike most boss fights. But I think when they're done well, they can be the best part of a game, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Bloodborne, Metal Gear Solid, amazing. Because quite often, the boss fights I don't like are when it's just a big round room, and you just got to hit a thing a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And it has maybe 3 phases, and its last phase is, I'm going to be really hard now.
Oh, one thing I do hate in bosses is when they regenerate their health.
No.
Sorry, when you were talking about that, I was like, the moment where, like, you know, if it works with, sometimes it's like absolutely fine. But for example, there's in Yakuza Kiwami, you fight Majima in like just the streets, and he will just suddenly start recharging his health when you get to a certain point. And if you punch normally, it's going to do nothing. So literally, he's just stood there. You can't do a lot unless you have a heat action. I'm always just like, for goodness sake, I was this close to defeating you. Now you do this regenerating health attack. And I'm like, oh, just go already.
That's what they must think.
Yeah, it's
about
funny.
hitting us. Like, how many times are they going to drink this potion?
How many potions do you have?
It was reminded me of Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts, where he has
yes.
so much health that for the first 10 minutes of the fight, you can't actually visibly see any health dropping off his health bar because he's got invisible health bars of health
that go off the screen.
That go off the screen,
That's amazing.
basically. Yeah,
It's
I
insane.
do like that. I do like that moment that you kind of just described when you first face a boss for the first time and you hit it and you see how much comes off the health
Yeah.
bar. You're like, is it a little? Is it a lot?
Yeah.
You're like,
Often in Bloodborne, it's like
Yeah.
tiniest little chip, and you're like, ooh, we're going to be here a while.
Then there's the moment it hits you back. And you're
Yeah.
like, I see how this is going to go. I'm not a huge boss fight fan either. I like lots of things about boss fights. I really love the music. I really love like design. You know, it's funny, Ash, you said what's one of the most memorable boss fights that you can recall. And for some reason, I just keep thinking about a boss fight I haven't even played. But I watched Nath play, and it was in one of the God of Wars. It was like God of War Ascension, maybe, or God of War 3. And Kratos is climbing all over this absolutely humongous, like, giant. It's not even a giant. It's like a creature made of stone and earth, and it's so big that, you know, he's just like slicing it up from foot to throat.
Is it Kronos?
I have no idea. It's so massive, and I love that kind of thing. I do love that bosses tend to be huge and they tend to be like aesthetically astounding, and I love that kind of storytelling through the way they look and all that kind of thing. I love to go wow a boss, but then boss fights themselves I tend to find, like, I don't know, they're just not for me. They're either too easy, and that I feel like that can.
All right.
No, but I mean, I
did Returnal first try.
I can't think. I was going to mention that. I can't think of like a boss fight that I have found like perfectly balanced. They're
What about the one in Returnal with the organ? I forget what its name.
so
Well, I was going to
done it yet.
mention the music, and I mean the reason I love that boss fight is because of the music, as well as like the look of like this huge organ playing boss sat at the keys, and you know the music is just everywhere and it's part of the battle. I love that. But the just boss fights themselves, I think, funnily enough, the other thing I thought of when I thought of great boss fights was Metal Gear Solid. I think they are fantastic, and those are some of my favourites that I've experienced. And I think that is what I look for in a boss fight, is the kind of puzzly element. I don't want to just be up against a sponge or a hammer, you know, like I want to be up against something. I want
Sometimes both. A sponge with a hammer.
Exactly, yeah. I want
that Dark Souls boss.
and I don't love the kind of classic shoot the glowing part, like, or you know, you've battled it a little bit and then there's the flashing red bit, gotta hit that bit. Like, I don't know, it's just, I like just something a little bit more cerebral that makes me think, and
Definitely.
I can feel clever, I suppose, rather than just strong or skillful. Like I said, I think boss fights tend to be a little bit too easy, and you know, you have this big setup and then you get through it and it's a little bit disappointing, or too hard where you have this big setup and then you fail and then you go again and you have the cutscene again, and it's like yes, like, I've seen this, crack on. So I'm struggling to think of like the perfect boss fight, but I know that they exist and I know I've experienced them. But some of my favourites are definitely Metal Gear Solid.
I think
they're
music is so important.
Yeah,
music,
Bloodborne smashes that as well.
If it's a boss that is a character that's part of the story, and you really, really want to take down this boss by the time you actually get to it. Sometimes you just enter a room and a big blob appears that you've not seen before, and it's like, oh, I'll beat this. But sometimes you'll be up against someone who you've been chasing or you've been battling with for hours of the game.
Yeah.
And you meet them and it's like this big narrative climax and the music starts going, and they could be so exciting. I do think when they're done well, bosses can be the absolute best bit of a game.
Yeah, I was just quickly going to say, talking about music and like the build-up and stuff, I've got to give a huge shout-out to Undertale and Deltarune.
Yes!
Oh, yes.
Those
Undertale.
bosses.
So good.
Like, they're so good, they're so creative, the music's stellar in them, and like you were saying about the story building up to it and stuff, like...
Is Megalovania the best boss theme ever?
Yes.
Probably.
Actually, yes is the answer.
Yeah.
There is no debate about it. Apologies, everyone. We're not discussing this. Yes, it is. It actually is. I love Undertale. See, this is really interesting because I had some questions for later on about like what's the most inventive boss you've come up against, or do you prefer like bullet sponges or weak points or puzzles? And I think it's interesting that you all kind of are drawn to the creative side of boss battling straight away, because for me it's exactly the same. Like I love a puzzle. It doesn't always have to even be hitting the boss. Like I think Sly Raccoon has some of my favourite boss battles ever. Fighting Clockwork at the end of the first Sly Raccoon game, where actually it's an obstacle course that you have to get to the top of to be able to even hit him. Or doing the Ms. Ruby in the Voodoo Lands.
I was going to say Miss Ruby. I had a feeling you'd say Miss Ruby.
I love Ms. Ruby, where you've got to basically do a quick time event across a load of like swimming beasties that you then have to hit her at the end of. Like I love those so much. Hollow Knight is less so. It's more about kind of skills and timing and stuff, but I've been thinking about that the whole way through, because it does have the emerging blobs, but it has the music that like tells you the story as it happens. And my favorite one from that is the Dung Defender, who basically
Great name.
Every other boss in this game is super melancholic, is super sad, is kind of twisted, soul rended, just a bit miserable basically. And the Dung Defender music starts playing, and it's the first one that's kind of a bit like in a major key that's like oh okay, Dung Defender, and he's like way as he's battling you, and he's basically just a dude that loves fighting, loves flinging dung around, loves like he's like a full like gallant knight of old that you have to battle against. And it's the most fun fight that you have, because it's a tonal shift and something you don't expect in this game that's super gloomy, and obviously has a whole new moveset that you've got to kind of counter and figure out. And when he goes underground you can't hit him, so you got to move out the way, and he's throwing up his dung balls, you have to dodge them. It's so good. I love bosses when they're done well. I absolutely love bosses. Bug snacks, all puzzles in Bug Snacks, because you can't die and there's no real violence in it, because you're just catching creatures and releasing them. The Bug Snacks bosses, like catching the legendary Bug Snacks, are sick. Like it's so fun. Like the Mama Mewan that you fight is this big arena where you've got to lure it to go and to hit pillars and then capture its babies, and so it comes over and hits the pillar and then drop a spike on its head. There's so many ones, and I'm just listing them now. But yeah, my favourites are absolutely when you have to figure out how to defeat an otherwise incomprehensibly big or scary boss that your character wouldn't be able to do in real life or by real logic, but can do by the virtue of environmental stuff that you take advantage of. I think that's really cool.
It's really weird that I feel just a bit differently to everybody. I think it's maybe just because I grew up playing games that didn't really have bosses in. I don't know, I'm not sure. But like I definitely feel like that bosses have become more a part of my gaming life since I've joined Access and like in my later years. And I don't really recall fighting many bosses as a kid, unless they were like the sort of just glowing parts ones, which I don't know, like they're fine, but they just don't do a lot
It's
for me.
strange that you say that, because I feel like gaming is moving away now from feeling like we have to have bosses in. There are so many games now that just don't have bosses, and they're fine, and sometimes all the better for it. But you know, in my childhood, literally every game had a boss, had a level and a boss at the end.
I'm trying to, yeah, it's weird. Did I play games? I definitely did. I played loads, but I just don't recall bosses.
You've played a lot of like online multiplayer stuff as well, where like it's not really bosses, but it's coming up against people who are like are skilled other players, which are bosses in their own right. It's kind of like self-made story in that way, isn't it? Like the legend of the ultimate players that have like rank 500,000 as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of ignoring like shooter bosses because they just, I don't know, they just don't quite count in the same way to me. But like I played a lot of shooters growing up and that kind of stuff, and racing games and sports games, and like I just loved story games. When I say story, just first person. No, I just loved kind of single player story games, I guess, or adventure games. And in my head, they just didn't have many bosses. I think I don't know if it's true, but it feels like JRPGs were the sort of the originators of bosses, apart from like arcade games and stuff. I don't know.
But I know you played a lot of Mass Effect, and that definitely had like kind of not so much bosses as in boss encounters, like Mass Effect 3 when you're coming up against like
I've not
the
played
big
Mass
bad.
Effect 3.
Oh my god! Okay, well there's a big
I've only
bad.
played 1 and 2.
No spoilers, but it's like the thing that's kind of teleposted throughout all of the games.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's like a whole like section. It's not so much a boss fight as it is a boss encounter, and then you've got to figure it out and go around it and defeat all of the little baddies coming your way. And then there's armored people. The end of Mass Effect 2 with the giant thing that I also don't want to spoil, but like is some people love it, some people hate it. I love it. I think
Yeah.
it's so goofy and great and so science fiction. Like I loved that fight.
Yeah.
And that's just like running away and shooting. And like I think personally, and I think other people would agree, that I have a lot of forgiveness for just shoot them or just hit them or weak point bosses if they're super interesting visually. Like horror bosses, like in your Resident Evils, like your William Birkin with his giant eyeball shoulder. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you're just shooting him in a weak point, but because he looks so cool and is so interesting and it ties into his story and his narrative and he comes back bigger and weirder and stranger and with different weak points, like it's so much fun and it's so cool and it's so interesting.
Yeah,
And you
again,
just getting an eyeball of him, like, excuse the pun, but
He's a
it's
character,
so good.
isn't he? He's been in the game.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just some random thing that's appeared. I remember fighting Marguerite. You made me fight Marguerite.
Yeah.
Marguerite was
Such a good boss.
Was a character who'd obviously lived in my mind for years as this thing I never would have dreamed I could get past. And that boss was, yeah, memorable and horrible, but brilliant.
I suppose
love
I
this-
think that bosses are a little bit overused, maybe. I like an end game boss. I do like what you said, Rob, about like they're threaded throughout the game in some, you know, maybe you're chasing them down or they're the big bad behind everything and that kind of thing. Like I like the sort of culmination of a story where it needs a big moment and it's like, right, finally, this is it. We're going to settle this. But just kind of like mid-game bosses or just that sort of like, let's have a boss. Like, it just doesn't do a lot for me as a sort of gameplay idea. I don't feel the need for it. I don't feel like I need... Well, it depends on the game, obviously. But I don't necessarily feel the sort of need for, like, chapters. Like, you've got through this area, have a boss. That's not necessarily something that interests me unless it's like... There's like a story reason for it, I think. Then that feels very cool. But yeah.
That did get me thinking of when you're talking about that. It did get me thinking of Hades a bit.
Yeah.
Because when you're saying about story, like yes, you fight your arena and then there is like a boss at the end of each stage. But I think that kind of is related to the story because you know Hades, you're not allowed to escape the underworld.
Yeah.
So that's like you've got your different barriers and stuff. And then when you're saying about you have the big threat at the very end, then that is Hades. So I'm curious if you would like. How you'd view the Hades boss
I've played
fights.
Hades and I haven't defeated Hades, but I've fought him. And I don't know, I really love Hades. It's an incredible, stylish, like really wry, funny game. And the gameplay absolutely slaps. But I don't know about the bosses. I don't know, it's just fine. It's for me, like I enjoy them. They don't annoy me or anything, but I don't know that it's... Like I would enjoy it just as much if it was just all getting to Hades, I think.
The Hades fight is brilliant.
He's only beaten me so far, so...
It's so good.
Oh, I've been playing House of the Dead remake at the moment, which I'm absolutely loving and big recommend if you're interested in arcade games or anything like that or want to throw back to the classic House of the Dead. It's such a good remake. But playing bosses in that it's literally just you hold your controller and shoot at a boss and pick a weak point. But it comes with such a great like bit of catharsis at the end of getting through loads of zombies, fighting your way through, getting to the end of the level, and you're like, right, here's the big bad that's in the way for the next bit. And it makes sense story-wise as well because you're going through and things are trying to stop you from getting to the end and finding Curian. And you have like the hanged man who's the big like devil-winged guy, if you guys remember him. And he's like, hello, I'm a devil.
I love House of the Dead and I can't remember him. But...
Yeah, but like that arcade sensibility of like, here's a boss, just try and shoot the absolute sugar out of it. Like,
The sweet boss.
Yeah. Sprinkle those cubes down. It's really, really good. It's really, really good. I really like that. And I like when those are kind of tied into other games as well, and it kind of pays homage to, I know that is an older game, a remake of an older game, but I like when the games pay homage to the things that have come before and maybe have a boss that's designed that kind of way, and you can feel that kind of pastiche and love for the genre in those sorts of fights rather than shoehorned in. So I'd agree with you, Dave, that when there's a boss there and it just feels like it's there because, okay, it's boss time. Yes, that's not so great, but there are times when even if the gameplay is just shoot or is just slap or is just punch, like, it still feels really fun. And like, I'm smiling, so I'm thinking House of the Dead. I'm like, so good.
I was thinking about what Rosie said about Hades, and I do accept that it would feel a bit weird if you just got through, one world and then there was like, there's the door to the next world.
Well done, Zagreus.
Off we go. Yeah, you'd be like, okay, that would feel a bit weird. But so I don't know what I mean really. I'm not a massive boss fight fan, and I don't know. I do think that they can be a bit overused, and my favourites are definitely when it has a real meaning for, like, I've waited for this, like, I want it to be really built up and like, finally, this is it. I know it's the end of the game. I know that what happens next really matters. I enjoy that kind of pressure, unless I fail, and then every time you have another go, it's sort of worn down until just like, let it end.
Do you guys have any boss fights? This is just to close us off. Do you guys have any boss fights that you're particularly proud of getting through that you want to shout out? And you're like, wow, that one was a tough fight, but I did it, and I'm the best.
The hardest one, the one I always talk about, is the Bloodstarved Beast of Bloodborne, which was the first one that really kicked me when I was playing Bloodborne for the first time, and I just couldn't get past it, and I didn't realise that it was an optional boss. So I spent ages and I burned through so many resources just trying to kill the Bloodstarved Beast, and it was really all for nothing. I mean, not all for nothing. I think getting the platinum in it helped that I'd defeated it, but it was just so tough. But that's a very cool boss fight, actually. And that's one where I really love the arena. Like, I really love that you arrive and it's like this old cathedral. Like, walking up to it, you're like, oh, I do like that about a boss fight, when you're like, oh no, here we go, this is a boss fight.
Yeah.
And this old sort of gutted cathedral with these big Gothic pillars and stuff is very, very cool. And the second phase of that boss is just horrible. It's so wet and slappy. It's just sort of slops about the place. It's really, really horrible. But that's one that I'm proud, only in as much as it was the first time in Bloodborne where I really was like up against it, and I thought, I'm not sure I can do this, and I'm not sure I want to do this. And I'm just proud that I fought through it, although I was sad that I didn't have to at all. I could have just gone somewhere else.
Woo! I think one for me, I mean, I've spoken about many boss encounters on our YouTube channel, like fighting Sigrun on a stream and things like that. But so I'm gonna spice it up. One that I really remember doing was when I was a kid on the PlayStation 2, and it was when I defeated Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 2. And I remember this so well because honestly, I love Kingdom Hearts 2. It's one of my favorite games, and I wanted to try and do everything in it. And I remember constantly coming up to Sephiroth, having the same dialogue, like, what is Cloud doing? Beats me, and all that stuff. I remember, like, I haven't even seen that scene in ages. I just remember, like, Sephiroth and just fighting him over and over, dying again and again and again. And I felt so proud when I finally defeated Sephiroth. And I think the reward you get for defeating him wasn't even that good. And I just remember that was the first time where I was encountered like I did all that. I did all of that and
For nothing.
And I got this, which isn't even as good as what I currently have.
Oh, that's awful.
So
yeah.
that was like probably the first time I experienced that, and just that's why I always remember that fight. And I would love to give it another shot. I'd love to do it again and see if I can do better than my teenage or childhood self did. But that's a very fond boss in my memory.
I would say, for me, it's got to be both Ruby and Emerald Weapon in Final Fantasy VII, which are like the optional mega bosses of the game. And I played Final Fantasy VII many times when I was younger. I must have played through that game maybe 5 or 6 times. And it wasn't until I think my 4th playthrough that I actually defeated these things. And so they'd been this looming impossibility for so very long. And they're also sort of puzzly as well, because you can't just level up and be really strong and beat them. You have to have like a specific strategy, because they just do things that are impossible to defend against unless you have a particular setup. But beating both of those finally was unbelievable. In fact, when I beat Ruby Weapon, I knew I'd beaten it because I delivered the final blow and it did its animation of, oh, I'm dead. Oh. My sister was not at home, and it had been a thing that had been in both our minds for like ages. Like, we're never going to beat this. And so I paused the game, and I think I must have waited 4 or 5 hours for her to come home from wherever she was. And the game had just been on pause that whole time.
It's burned into your screen.
As soon as she got home, I was like, oh, look what I've done! And he unpaused the game after 5 hours of waiting. So we could both experience this boss being extinguished.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I've thought of bosses that I love. I've thought of some bosses that I love.
Oh, well, we just
very
finished
quickly.
segment,
I don't know if you'd actually could call these bosses, because there's nothing else in the game, but it's obviously the Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus, which are like so sad, so epic, puzzly, just fantastic. Like just crossing the landscape and finding one of these things, and just seeing it and watching it and trying to figure out how to fight it, and the weird emotions you get about fighting it, and the amazing music. I think they're some of my favourites. They're just incredible, and I mean, that whole game is incredible.
I had to stop playing it.
Yeah.
I felt too bad.
I've never finished it. I think I've done 7, and I'm like, I don't know if I could. I might go back and try and carry on from 7, but
I don't know, it just makes me feel sad, and the landscape's so barren and like empty, and it just has that melancholic drip all over it, and I'm like,
I thought you'd kind of love that in a way, because I don't know, like in a way I feel exactly the same, and I had to stop playing as well, but I also think it's amazing that it makes me feel this way.
Yes, yeah.
Not that that's good even, because I felt it so much I had to stop, but I'm just like, I just think it's an incredible achievement. It's such an incredible game.
Oh God, yeah. No, like disrespect to it. I know it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
I just couldn't hack it,
Yeah,
which is a bit of a weird one to say. But yeah, like I guess it was just, it felt like overwhelmingly sad just the whole time. So I know the ending as well. Like I kind of know the what it pans out, and I don't know. Just playing it from that angle was a lot. I don't know.
I
very sad.
also know the ending, and I wish I didn't. I would just love to and hate to experience it.
Yeah.
Going through all that and then finding out the ending would be fascinating.
Yeah. I think for me, like the boss that I'm very proud of defeating is Sigrun from God of War 2018.
Respect.
Because that was my first platinum trophy, and I'd done it because I wanted to do everything in that game so desperately, because I loved it so much and love it so much, and Sigrun was the last thing I needed to get the trophy, and it was just, oh my God, it was like, it was late at night, and because I had the day off the next day, I was like, I'm going to get it done here, I'm going to get it done now, I'm going to stay up, I'm going to do it, and I just kept on hammering and having to figure out and looking up tactics online. I was like, how are other people doing this? And I was like, exactly the way that I'm doing it, just surviving. Oh, and it was it was
I hate that moment where you look at guides. It's like, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do.
Big respect to both of you, because I think I only fought one Valkyrie in God of War. I think maybe there's one you have to fight for part of the story, or maybe there's just one that I fought and I defeated that one, and then the second one I was just like, what is this?
You can stay in the Odin cave.
I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. And so I've only fought that one, and so I can't imagine. That was just the second one. I can't imagine how hard it gets.
It's
how hard
every
Sigrun
single
is.
move from all the other Valkyries put into one boss,
Oh my God,
and then she's like nails anyway.
Yeah.
It's such a good fight. It's such a frustrating fight, but so good, because it takes everything you've learned across the game and puts it all into one massive arena. The other one would be the chicken from Happy's Humble Burger Farm, because it was really hard. It was really
Did you stream
hard.
that boss, or was that something you did in your own
No,
time?
that was something I did just for fun.
Right. Okay. What's that? How does that work?
So it's like it's this chicken in this underground like lava place that's like full of environmental hazards, and you have to like rearrange the facility to make it go into a room where you can then kill it. But
Right.
it's like, it's massive and you can't fight back. So if it gets you, it pecks you and you're dead. And you have like these exploding magma eggs all around the thing that you have to try and like dodge, and things go off. So it's basically a stealth mission where everything alerts the chicken to come and get you if you do a tripwire, explode an egg, or go somewhere you're not supposed to. So you have to hide in all the vents away from this giant chicken that is just trying to kill you. And let me tell you, I was so proud when I finished that, because the other bosses are doable. They're like puzzly, but they're doable. You have to make like a burger for the giant pig. That me and Rob did that one. You have to make a burger and feed it to the giant pig.
Happy memory.
It's a disturbing game. That is. It really is.
I loved it. I thought it was a really great concept, but that is enough about bosses for now, because we have battled the boss and won. It's what I will say.
It was a good one.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to comments of the week. So a moment, please, for the music. Now it's comments of the week time, and we must sing.
It's time.
It's time. Oh, goodness.
Sorry.
It's you're next.
I know, but it was too.
Rob
it was
and
too
I
far
were
gone.
beautifully
I didn't
harmonised
realise we
then
were
as
just
well.
starting. Okay.
Yeah, I just thought that it was
You
going to be.
said
I just
it's
thought I'm
time
going
for the song.
Yeah, I thought I
Why
was
were you
gonna-
surprised the song started?
trying to be professional
This
this
is
week.
episode 5 now. And we
Yeah.
did a pilot. Come on.
Ash goes after Rob, right? And then I'm last.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for comments of the week.
My key's really bad. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I struggle.
I can never fail
tonally.
because I get to go first, so it's easy.
Oh, I have to start, and then I think, oh, maybe I should go.
It's time.
Until I find the one.
Find it in there somewhere. Just
Yes.
fix it in post.
But this is comments of the week from the hashtag Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
Come on, Rosie.
There she is. And the Pod Squad are people, lovely, lovely people that leave comments on our YouTube videos or message us on social media or send things in by carrier pigeon with the hashtag Pod Squad attached. And that means their message may get read out in a podcast in a future episode. And that future episode is right now.
It
So, first up, we have Sam Jamie Leon, who says...
That's 3 people.
No, Sam Jamie Leon. It's all one word. It's all one word, but on my sheet it's like, it's cut off, so it just says Sam Jamil. Yon. Sam Jamil. Yon. And they say, PlayStation Access, can you help settle a debate?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Probably
boy.
not. You're going to make us have a debate now, aren't you?
So it's hashtag Pod Squad, hashtag VOD Squad, hashtag PlayStation Access. All bases covered. My friend thinks Blitzball, Final Fantasy X, is the best Final Fantasy minigame. It's clearly triple triad, Final Fantasy VIII, maybe a new segment. Help a guy feel smug.
Can I say that I think... if I'm right, I think Rob agrees that Blitzball is the best. I'm not sure about Rosie. Rosie maybe likes Triple Triad. And I'm out. I've not played either. Ash, do you have any thoughts on this matter?
Squats is the best minigame in Final Fantasy.
Squats?
Squats.
Oh, Final Fantasy 7 remake squats.
Squats.
Against Jules.
Yeah. Squats.
They're really hard, the squats. And the pull-ups.
Yeah.
Rob and Rosie, just make this debate happen. What's the best minigame in Final Fantasy?
It's triple triad.
Oh, I thought you loved Blitzball.
I do love Blitzball, but triple triad he's untouchable. It's such a good
I
game.
was wrong.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I don't think it's Blitzball, but I'm trying to think
But
of what
she also doesn't think
No,
it's
I'm trying
Triple
to-
Triad.
No, well, I prefer the Final Fantasy IX Tetra.
The one that you were rubbish at, Rosie.
I'm good at Tetra.
When we did the stream of Final Fantasy IX, I gave you
That
5
was when I was
challenges,
learning.
and
That
one
was-
of the challenges was win a game of Tetramaster. We
That
were there
was-
for like 45 minutes.
That was before I fully was learning it. After the stream, that's when I was like, okay, because I agree, I was rubbish then. And then I was like, I like the music. So I was like, okay, I'm going to fully look into this. And that's when I was like,
No, that's blasphemy, Rosie. Triple Triad is supreme.
Well,
Absolutely supreme.
Blimey.
there's that debate
Yeah,
debated.
nip that in
well,
the
there's
bud.
also I want to give a little bit of shout out in the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake with Yuffie. You know, the game in the original Final Fantasy when you've got the tower and you have to send the armies
Yes,
in.
the Fort Condor.
Fort Condor,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. The way the DLC does that as a mini game is actually really fun.
It is very good. There are lots of very good mini games across Final Fantasy, but for me, Triple Triad
The Chocobos.
is so good. It's unbelievably good.
Well, it sounds like we've maybe settled one debate and started another there. Triple triad or something else.
Blitzball is great.
Yeah, Blitzball's,
I love Blitzball.
yeah.
You'd like it, Dave, I think, as well. It's like Football Manager, but for underwater.
Sorry, I couldn't hold that.
Underwater football. It's great.
I'm not a Football Manager fan, just so you know. I don't know.
It's more like Pez Master League. You can sign players. You can level the players up. They learn, and each player you attach stories to them.
I think I'd like Triple Triad more.
I think you would as well because it's amazing. But I'm just saying you'd also like Blitzball.
To be fair, I haven't had as much experience with Triple Triad as I have with Tetra, so I think maybe to Final Fantasy VIII's credit, I just need more. I need more experience with Triple
I
Triad.
collected all the cards in Triple Triad. It's so good.
I just mainly remember those people at the hot dog shop who were always up for a game of Triple Triad. Well, not the hot dog shop, sorry. It's like the school where they always have. But they always
Such different vibes. I was like, oh, did it sell a different food stuff? It's like, sorry, not hot dogs.
Are you talking about the cafeteria?
School.
The cafeteria. There's a cafeteria.
Hot dogs.
Oh my god!
You've got to try their hot dogs, but you never get their hot dog. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I just remember those three at the table.
Rosie's talking about the school cafeteria in Balam Garden, who have famously good hot dogs that Zell is never on time for.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah, I just remember the three people at the table always talking about Triple Triad.
Oh my god!
Oh, that was good, Rosie. That was good.
Another day at the hot dog shop.
I mean, school.
Every day's a hot dog shop day.
Oh my goodness! Right.
Can't go to bed late tonight. It's a
It's a hot dog shop night.
I'm just thinking about the hot dogs and the sausages from that game we play where you throw hot dogs at each other as well.
Oh, stick mold.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in a school as well, I think.
Yeah. That's. It is as well.
Yeah.
My God.
Weird.
Gymnasium. Oh my God. Hot dogs and schools together.
I know. Makes sense.
At last. Right, so our next Pod Squad comment is from Valiant Bradley James, who says, you need to get the band together. Dave on guitar, because you play guitar, right? Rosie on drums. I can just see her going crazy like Animal of The Muppets.
That's true.
and then Rob. I don't know what Ash and Rob should do. Mainly I'm curious to see everyone in their rock outfits together.
I used to play the drums.
Did you?
I should be on the drums, yeah.
Do you wanna
Rosie
take
should be on bass.
What
Rosie
drum?
plays bass.
Like a full drum kit?
drum?
A
Or
drum
a bongo?
kit.
Just the snare.
Just the snare. Drum kit, yeah.
Nice.
Used to play the drums.
How long did you do that for?
For a few years. I was in a school orchestra. I played
Nice.
drums at the Royal Festival Hall in London.
Oh.
Wow.
For my school.
Wow.
A gig.
It was
Ash,
an
if we-
orchestral performance.
I was going to say, if we had like a band which had slight awesome classical elements to it, you could do violin.
I could. I played violin in the school orchestra.
You could do guitar as well, though. We could have two guitars.
I'm not very good at guitar. I was all right at violin, but I used to try and get out of orchestra all the time. Like it was mandatory if you had musical instrument lessons at school because you get them for free.
Yeah.
Because it was nice of them. You could learn any instrument you wanted, but you had to play in orchestra as kind of like your payment. And I managed to avoid it for like 3 years. I don't know how, but like 3 years I got the lessons and did all the fun stuff, but I didn't have to go to orchestra because I was just like, oh, I'm busy on a Monday. And then my friend dropped me in it one night. It was like, Ash, how come you're never at orchestra? You're always free. And I'm like, my teacher was like, right, well, you come in, it's time. I had to go and play second violin, not even first.
Well, you either play violin or guitar, or you got to sing.
I can do ukulele.
Okay, yeah, that counts.
All right.
Sorted then. Well, we just need a name for the band now, then, please, Pod Squad.
PlayStation Access Band.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or PAB.
Yeah. Plabland station.
Plabland. I just like plabland.
Plabland.
PlayStation Band says. Yeah? Our next comment is from Jordan F, which says, Pod/VOD Squad!
How did they type all that? Teach me.
I got married yesterday.
Congratulations!
And got ready for the ceremony whilst listening to this podcast. Thank you all for helping to take my mind off my nerves. Great as always.
You notice the only married member of this podcast didn't say congratulations.
Yeah, I did notice.
I just went, commiserations.
I didn't say that either.
That's very cool, though. I
That
think
is
that's
very cool.
That's fantastic.
so nice.
I do. We helped. We're
how,
helping.
I do remember how nervous I was as well on my wedding day.
Is it a nervous thing? Because I'm just
massively.
person you love, walk down, high five, do a kiss,
All right,
get
cheers.
going.
It's like,
Bye.
usually, I was so nervous. Everyone's
don't
looking at
remember you being
You've got
that
a
nervous.
speech as well
Yep.
to
Okay,
do.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Rob's speech was really good.
Was it? Was
Yeah,
it like
was
I
really
love
good.
my wife?
No.
That might have been in there, but I just remember it was really funny and good. Did a very good job. It's nice anyway to have been part of someone's big day. That's a new one. That's a
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah.
Should we, in case anyone listens to this podcast also on their wedding day, should
Yeah.
we prepare like a wedding message?
Oh yeah, let's make it really distracting. Oh,
Have you got the
pigs!
rings? For
Whoa!
God's sake!
Weddings are great! Weddings are great!
Barnyard animals running loose in the venue. Collect them.
Think about your dinner. What are you having for dinner? Is it a good dinner?
Have I definitely made the right choice?
Yeah, how does your partner feel about PlayStation Access podcast? You have to ask them at the altar.
Yeah, you can't marry them until you know that they're...
Phew, and I sneezed.
No, seriously, have a lovely day. Have a
Have a
lovely day.
fantastic day.
Relax.
You'll smash
It's going to be
it.
fun. All your favourite people are there.
Yeah, Rob, what's your advice?
Just make sure you've got the rings, precious.
God, it's too good. I can't
My
even be
advice,
angry.
I don't know. I don't know. You just got to get through it. You get through the speeches, and then it's fun when it's the disco at the end.
Woo!
And remember, everyone is there to be happy, and everyone wants you
To do
to
well.
win and to have a
win.
good day. So, if you've got a speech, the speech was the bit for me that I was most nervous about. At the end of the day, no one's going to be like, "Oh my God, that was a terrible speech."
Can I just say, having been a best man, I think the best man's got it way worse.
Oh yeah, I've been a best man as well once,
haven't.
and it was also very nerve-wracking.
Then you just got the speech. Not all your favourite people
Yeah.
are there. You
When
know,
I was the best man,
no one's necessarily willing you to do well. It's just like,
when I was the best man, about 10% of the wedding knew who I was. So again, it was like, hello, I'm just this random guy most of you don't know. Here's some jokes.
Goodness, I've been a wedding guest.
okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fine. Yeah, it was nice. I did some dancing. It was my friend's wedding, and I went with other friends, so the friends table, and I wasn't with my partner, so I was just with my other mate whose partner also wasn't there, so us two were paired up. And it was like that. Everybody go to the dance floor. It's the couple's time to dance.
Yes.
So you have the wedding couple do their main bit, and then the couples come on and do their bit. And all the couples went up, and me and my mate were like, "Well, we should go and dance. We're friends. We should go and do it." But he didn't do the normal dance. He had 2 beers in each hand, and I had
2 beers in each hand.
and I had a
He had 4 beers.
No, so he had a beer in each hand, and I had a beer in my hand. So we were just dancing at each other with these
With
beers,
beers. Dancing
all
around
these
the beers.
wonderful little videos going on of all the hungry. That wasn't the song. That's what I was imagining playing. So both of us were there, just awkwardly dancing with some beers at each other.
Why couldn't you put them down?
I don't know. We just went to the dance floor, and I was like, "Oh my God, okay, we should do the dance." And he was like, "Nah, man, it's fine, just vibe." And I was like, "Okay."
You can't slow dance with a friend. You
No,
can't.
well, yeah, we
It's-
didn't.
You just can't. You
We
need
slow
the,
danced
you
with
need
a
the
beer.
beers in the hand.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I love being
Yeah.
a wedding guest. I think it's great. Also, one thing that I love getting is a wedding invite that says no children allowed.
Classic. yeah.
Because it means that my wife and I get a day off. And
Oh.
You have to.
I
Someone
love how
else.
it's not other
It's the
people's
rules.
children;
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
your own.
So if I have any advice, it's put no children allowed on your invite and give all of the parents who are coming to your wedding a lovely, nice day off being a parent for the day.
Rosie and Ash, you're a bit younger, so I don't think you've probably yet got into the
Wedding
rich
season.
vein of weddings that you will in your life. I can remember being around 30 and suddenly everybody I knew was getting married.
Yeah.
You go through 2 years of like every other weekend you're at a wedding, and they're fun, but they're like, oh god, they're so tiring. And now it's been a couple of years because of the pandemic and because my friends are all a little bit older. I haven't been to a wedding in a couple of years, and I'm going to a wedding next year, and I can't wait. I'm like, yes, it's going to be so good. I'm like really excited to see my friends get married and to see everyone and have a really great time.
Sort of some free food and a dance.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a party.
great. It's good
Just
stuff.
a free party.
I'm
It's a free
excited as
party.
well because actually, when this podcast is live, I'm going to be at my first childhood friend's wedding.
Amazing.
She's congratulations, Katie and
Oh
Reese.
my god, she's got to listen to the podcast on her wedding and hear us going, are you sure
my
it's
God.
the right thing?
Ignore that part. Yeah, no. So that she's the first out of my childhood friends to actually get married. So I'm really excited. And I don't know how emotional wise I'm gonna be oh, she's getting married. I'm gonna see my friends. And when we went to the hen do, my friends and I were saying oh, the little thing of who do you think will be next? And all of us were literally they're really expensive.
Yeah.
We're just we love our partners, but they're very expensive, aren't they? So we were just I don't think I've got any weddings coming up for a bit, but hey, might be surprised. But I'm super excited for this one.
Well, I
that'll
hope
be
you
happening.
and Katie have a fantastic time. But no one else.
No one else.
Just you two.
Not even the groom. Not
No,
even
especially not the groom. And the best man, good luck.
And like a good best man, this is my speech to say, let's wrap it up.
Will you please make your way to the dining room?
Someone has left their Ford parked in front of someone else's car and they can't
The
get
DJ
out.
announcement. I love it. One of my favourite Peter Kay jokes is where he's
Buffet.
you can't understand a word they say, but you always understand
They always
the word.
have terrible
Buffet.
PAs at weddings, don't they? The
Yeah.
speech always sort of feedback and that sort of rumble, yeah.
Oh well, in that sense then, before we go.
Very good.
Okay, guys, do you have anything you want to mention before we go in the before we go section?
I do. I want to just say that I have been
You
watching...
drew in breath, ready to say
I know,
that.
I'm the most important. I'm the most important. It's because I just finished watching Severance last night on Apple TV Plus. I don't know, Apple TV. Maybe there's a plus. And it's amazing. I loved it, and everyone should watch it. I
It's good.
really enjoyed it. And also, you just shouldn't know anything about it before you watch it. So just take my advice that it's good and watch it.
Watch
Thank
it.
you.
Watch the first 2 episodes and deal with them if you're thinking, because it pays off so good by the end of it.
If you're thinking, after the first 2 episodes,
I did.
Really?
Yeah, just because it was very slow, and not in a bad way. It was considered and thoughtful, but then it got into the meat of what's going on here? What are the interesting things happening? Where is this going? And by the end, I literally yelled at the end. I
will give you it is a bit slow, but I think that it just presents you the first bit. You're for ages just what is going on, and then it sort of reveals enough, and then my mind just started thinking. I was just thinking about it
My
away.
mind started thinking.
Yes, you may begin to think. Away from episode 1, I just started thinking about. It unfurls the situation, which I'm trying very hard to avoid explaining, the realities of that situation. You just start thinking about, wow, it would mean this and it would mean that, and how do they do that? And I just thought it was incredible, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch it, as Ash and I have.
Yeah.
We're the best. What else? What has everyone else been up to?
I'm trying to think of the last film I saw. And it was I was it's been a while, but it was actually a couple of weekends ago, and I watched The Mummy 1 and 2 for the first time.
Yes.
For the first time?
For the first time.
Oh, I
pleased.
feel like they'd be films you'd love.
I
You
love
see
The Mummy.
I remember I always wanted to watch The Mummy as a kid because Looney Tunes Back in Action had the same main actor, and he was always in Looney Tunes Back in Action, he was oh yeah, I'm in that film more than Brendan is and stuff, and I was always what's The Mummy? Looney Tunes Back in Action's referencing The Mummy. I've got to watch The Mummy.
Who's the actor who's in that?
Brendan
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
He's in Looney Tunes Back in Action as well.
he's the main male protagonist.
Wow.
So
I love it.
Brendan Fraser, and I love Rachel Weisz. I love all the Mummy films.
I agree.
they're so
The
much
first
fun.
two,
I prefer the first Mummy film. I prefer the more sort of like creepy, spooky with like a bit of corniness in
it. Feels, I'm not gonna equate the Mummy films to Alien and Aliens, but just in terms of like the vibe of the first one.
Yeah.
The first one is like a bit scary. The second one is
Yeah, the second
action.
one, the bus
It's
scene
great.
in the second one when they're fighting all
Yes.
these like things on a bus.
Ridiculous,
It's so
but
much
good.
fun.
Yeah.
I
So
will-
it's a great adventure. But
I think I misquote the Mummy at least once a week by just going, "Do not read from the book."
Yes, I love that bit.
Yes.
So
Whenever
good.
you
The
do
Scarab
anything that you
Beetles.
shouldn't do.
Yeah.
No, you must not read from the book.
It's so good. Oh, he's so
What
scared.
have
He's
we
so scared,
done?
and they are reading from
Yeah.
the book. Oh, it's great.
That's my favourite bit is when he's there with the book with locusts on him. And
Yeah.
he's, what have we done?
Oh, the Scarab Beetle bit where
I
he
was
gets
gonna
eaten
say-
alive by the Scarab
Oh,
Beetle.
they're so horrible.
The
They're
gnarliest
horrible.
death.
The way it goes through his shoe and he's screaming. Oh, it's really
when you see it like
horrible.
in its skin
In his
as
eye.
well, or in their
He watches
skin.
it go
like,
all the way up and like into his eye.
Oh, it's so good.
awful.
I was like, again, rewind.
The end though, where is it Benny? Is that his name?
Yeah, Benny. I think.
Yeah.
He gets left behind and he's in the room. He's
Oh,
got
and it goes-
the torch
Yes.
is
The torch
guttering
goes
out.
out.
just
and you
see them
hear
all
that-
coming in.
And it goes black, and then you just hear that.
It's a good comeuppance, isn't it? It's a
He
good
deserves
comeuppance.
it for sure.
He does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Poor
I
Benny.
watched Jungle Cruise not too long ago, which I'm only mentioning
Is
because...
that The Rock and...
Yes, I love The Rock. I
Right.
love The Rock films. Like, if I'm going to watch something,
I've
he's
still
like
not-
my new Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he used to be like, I'll watch Arnold Schwarzenegger films because I love like a dumb action film, and
Yeah.
now it's if The Rock's in it, I'll watch
Have
it.
you seen
Yeah.
the second Jumanji film with him yet? I've
Yeah,
still
yeah,
not
yeah.
seen that.
I
Can I
liked
just say
it.
I love The Rock as well, but I thought Jungle Cruise was rubbish.
I bring it up because it reminded me of a lesser Mummy because
Right.
what's his face, Mr. Fresh Meat.
Jack Whitehall?
Yes, Jack Whitehall is in it as like false Jonathan from The Mummy. Like
Yes.
he's absolutely Jonathan.
Yeah.
And the whole way through I was like, man, I really want to watch The Mummy.
Oh, yeah, we should. Let's watch The Mummy.
Yeah.
I'm well up for that.
Group screening back at the office. Let's all go and watch The Mummy again.
I'll happily watch it again. I haven't seen the third film though. I got the trilogy, and I've heard people talk about the third film.
Yeah, the third
but
one isn't as you don't need to watch that. The first two. It's
Yeah,
number one and
first
two,
two
they're the
I've heard
ones.
is where it's at.
Which one has the Scorpion King in? Is it the third
Two.
one? Is it two? Just
Yeah.
a two? Did you see Mr. Rock? Mr. Rock as the Scorpion King.
I was really surprised that the Scorpion King had his own spin-off film.
Yes.
Yeah, he does. have
Because
his
in the
spin-offs as well.
film, after the hype I heard of the Scorpion King, I thought he was going to be a lot more in the film, but he's not. He's hardly in the Mummy 2. Just the bit in the beginning, and then the bit in the end.
Yeah.
They still focus more on the villain in the first film than they do the
Well, I
Scorpion
think
King.
It was like a big deal at the time that it was The Rock,
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson's
Oh,
first
that'll
ever
make sense.
movie appearance. It was his first ever appearance, I believe. So there was the big hype of The Rock is in this. Oh my god!
That makes sense.
And he must have probably part of the deal was I need my own spin-off movie as well, please.
Complete aside, but this has made me think of Stargate as well. Very different vibe, but does everyone like Stargate?
The sand in it, I guess.
It's also about Egypt. It's about the pyramids and the ancient Egyptians.
I've
And
seen it, but I can't remember
I was
it.
going to say, I think I've seen it, but I'm trying to remember it.
Basically, the pharaohs are aliens, and they uncover this Stargate, an ancient Egyptian artifact, and learn that it's a portal, and that's how the pharaohs came down to Earth, and they enslaved everybody because they were like gods, but they weren't gods; they were just technologically advanced aliens. And humans, being classic humans, uncover this Stargate and resurrect it, and then travel through to this other planet. And they have a big fight with the pharaohs. It's good. It's really good. It's quite 90s, like as in it looks a bit old.
I think I
and
can picture their armor. Is their armor like the grey? I know because they're like
They look
grey
like
helmet, but
is it Anubis? You know, that the sort of dog mask with the big.
Yes.
It's very classic. I mean, they're Egyptians. They're based on Egyptian artifacts.
Is
and
Ra
gods and
there?
whatever. Ra is the god. Is the big bad?
Yeah.
At the end, Ra.
Ra is legit.
That's
Ah!
what he does. Yeah,
Is
Ra
Bast
is legit.
there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
Maybe.
Bast is the big cat.
I think no, there's no big cat. Unfortunately, I'd love that. But there are some alien creatures, big like alien cows, or like an alien cow meets an alien horse meets an alien kind of elephant. It's great. And I think the main character's called David.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There's the real reason.
I mean, he
that's
just
enjoyable
happens
then.
to be smart and funny. He's not actually very funny. He's just smart. All he is just a scientist. That's really it. He has glasses too. Great guy.
Okay, well, if you want to see your own version of David, not from Stargate, then you can do so on the PlayStation Access channel.
Nice.
Which we will be on also, the rest of us will be throughout the coming weeks and also the future.
Hopefully longer, yeah.
What I'm saying is I'm finishing up the podcast now, and you can look forward to more access coming up over on YouTube. So we have streams every Monday and Thursday. We have a store update on a Tuesday, previews like Tuesday checklists on a Wednesday, and features every Friday. Loads of fun stuff. And as this is episode 5 of our podcast, it's actually the penultimate episode. The next one we do is the finale of the season. The season finale, some might say.
Oh my God, that's mad. Oh, I hope everybody's been enjoying it, and
Yeah.
please do continue to let us know if you have, because it makes us feel nice.
Yeah, please. We love hearing from you guys, both in the pod squad and just in general. It's so great when we launch an episode and hear what you think of it. So yeah, please get in touch. Let us know, and we'll do a big bit of feedback at the end of this season as well, so you can talk about it and let us know what you think and what you want to hear from us in the future. For now, though, this has been the PlayStation Access Podcast. I've been your host, Ash, joined by Rob, Dave, and Rosie, who are all going to say goodbye very harmoniously.
Goodbye.
Gorgeous. I will see you again soon. Bye.
PlayStation